I'm Molly Williams, and I'm a resident here on Veteran Heights. Lived here since 2016, and we've had several ballot issue discussions before here with League of Women Voters. And as you know, they don't usually take sides on issues, but if they've studied it and have come to a conclusion of what they feel is the best, then they do publicize and advocate for their position. But today we're going to do ballot issues, and I'll let both Julie Ott and Angela Stevens here explain about the issues. But first, I want to thank Dave Gardner. He's our technician. He will be audio streaming this, and but not video streaming. Restrooms, I guess all of you know where they are. The purpose of the League is to give information as well as help with voting issues and anything around ballot issues. So who wants, Angela, are you starting?
Julie, you doing the welcome? Go ahead. All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. This is what we do. We love to do. I am Angela Stevens. I am the advocacy chairman for the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, yes, my name is Izzy Nunez. I'm the Colorado Springs organizer with the Healthy School Meals for All campaign for Yes on LL and MM.
Awesome. The statewide measures on the November ballot are both important and complex, shaping the future of Colorado on issues that matter to every voter. This is the results of the research and analysis from the League of Women Voters of the Colorado Legislative Action Committee and the Voter Services. Our goal is to provide clear, nonpartisan, plain language information so you can understand each measure before casting your vote. For every statewide ballot issue, you'll find a summary of the measure, background and content, key considerations for voters, and what yes or no means. For over 105 years, the League of Women Voters has empowered voters and defended democracy. We're honored that you are here and hope this guide helps you with information to be a confident and ready voter. All right, so now you will find materials in the back to kind of help you with understanding some of the things that we are discussing and how in your yes or no side, right? Everyone should have received their ballots and your blue book by now. No? You didn't get a blue book? Do we have samples in the back of? Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, so let's get started. Izzy?
All right, yeah, I'm going to read the summary and the yes argument for both LL and MM. These are only two statewide measures on the ballot this year. For Proposition LL, this is for retaining and spending state tax revenue exceeding the estimate for Proposition FF, which some of you may have known passed in 2022. This ballot measure is a retention measure. It's a Tabor override measure, if you're familiar with Tabor. So this asks voters to allow the state to retain $12.4 million in excess revenue collected under provisions of the 2022 Proposition FF, known as Healthy School Meals for All, so same campaign. This allows the state to keep the caps on tax deductions where they are already for taxpayers reporting annual income of $300,000 or more. And this does not make any adjustment to eliminate future excess revenue. Tax deductions for taxpayers reporting income of $300,000 or more are currently capped at $12,000 for single filers and $16,000 for joint filers. Retained revenue and revenue collected in the future would be spent on the Healthy School Meals for All program. If voters do not approve the retention measure, Proposition FF thresholds for capping tax deductions must be adjusted to reduce anticipated revenue to the level projected in the proposition FF. And this means 12.4 million would be returned to taxpayers. Again, taxpayers in that bracket of over $300,000. And that would be in the fiscal year 2025-2026. So the method of return would be determined by the Department of Revenue, and the recipients of the refunded tax dollars plus interest must include taxpayers with reported incomes of $300,000 or more who paid the Proposition FF taxes. A little background on this, right? In 2022, voters in Colorado, we approved Prop FF that created a revenue stream to fund school meals for all students regardless of need. And the mechanism for that, like I said, is capping tax deductions for higher income taxpayers. The revenue collected during the 2023-2024 fiscal year surpassed the projection that was defined in the ballot measure. That was at 12.4 million. Therefore, according to Tabor, Taxpayer Bill of Rights in Colorado, the excess has to be returned to those taxpayers. Again, not to all taxpayers, just those in that income bracket, unless voters authorize the override via a new ballot measure. Also, the limitations on tax deductions defined in Prop FF would have to be adjusted to reduce that future revenue being excess. This is unless, again, we approve an override of that Tabor provision. So what does LL actually do? If you vote yes, this allows the state to keep and spend $12.4 million in tax revenue, including interest, that has been collected under Prop FF for the Healthy School Meals for All program, again, universal free school lunch, rather than refunding it to households earning $300,000 or more annually. It also maintains the current tax deduction limits for households earning $300,000 or more annually, which are currently scheduled to change to lower the taxes paid by these households. So for LL, if you vote yes, this means that the state can keep and spend $12.4 million in tax revenue that has already been collected for the Healthy School Meals for All program and maintain current taxes on households earning $300,000 or more. Local food purchasing, employee wages, and technical assistance, elements of the Healthy School Meals for All program, will continue. If I could say, those elements like local food purchasing, employee wages, and technical assistance, it's true that they are part of the program. They are actually part that it's because of demand and food prices, there's not quite enough to actually cover those in full. So there are schools, for example, that have been wanting to purchase from local farms to feed the kids fresher food, and there's not always the money to do so. So while it continues to be part of the program, it's not guaranteed. If only LL passes, that those might not actually be funded for all schools. That's something to say.
A vote of no means the state will refund $12.4 million to households earning $300,000 or more annually. Deductions limit will change as scheduled under current law, and lower taxes will be paid by these households. Less money will be available for schools. Yeah. What you need to know. To qualify and opt into Healthy School Meals program, the schools must participate in the federal National School Lunch Program that receive federal funding. In addition to providing funding for healthy meals, the three other HSMP program elements include purchasing homegrown products, providing higher wages for food nutrition professionals, and 3, offering training equipment and technical assistance and support for more from scratch meals. To date, funding has gone towards reimbursement for free school meals and administrative costs for the program. Resources. Learn more about the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the Tabor, at https:// LWVcolorado.org/Tabor, or Colorado Department of Education and Healthy School Meals for All. Healthy School Meals for All 2024 Legislative Report. Healthy School Meals for All FAQ, July 25, and Hunger Free Colorado. Yep.
Great. Okay, we're going to move on to Proposition MM. If you have questions, just... Do we want the questions now for LL, or do we want to talk about both of them? Any preferences?
Yeah, okay. Let's take the first one.
Yeah, we can. If anyone has questions specific to LL, I think we can help with those. We got one in the back,
Yes, there's a mic right here.
and there's one up here as well. And if you, did you all get cards? Right? Okay.
Yeah, we usually do those at the end.
If you need a card and pencil, let me know.
See, this is one for both of them.
Is it
Well,
related to both of them?
yeah.
Okay. That one's related to both, so we can wait on that one. Any for
Okay.
MM specifically?
Go to Proposition M.
Okay, we can start on Proposition MM and just jot down those questions. We'll get to them. Proposition MM is tax deductions and revenue for school meals measure. Okay, here's a summary of it. This ballot measure is an expansion measure. This will ask voters to permit the state to raise an additional $95 million annually to fully fund the Healthy School Meals for All program by further reducing the limits on tax deductions for those same households I was talking about, reporting annual income of $300,000 or more. Currently, under provisions put in place by Proposition FF, those higher income taxpayers have tax deductions capped at $12,000 for single filers and $16,000 for joint filers, increasing the amount they pay in income tax to fund the school meals program. I should mention this is state income tax. This is different from federal income tax deductions. If successful, this provision will reduce the amount these taxpayers may deduct even further, resetting tax deduction caps at $1,000 for single filers and $2,000 for joint filers. Increased income tax revenue collected under this measure will go to the Healthy School Meals for All cash fund, and money will be allocated using conditional formulas based on amounts remaining in the fund. If I can explain that fund thing a little more, this is because an issue we encountered was inflation, right? If you are looking at the price for food at the beginning of the school year, it could be completely different on a statewide, school-wide scale by the end of the year. So by creating that fund, that is a bit of a buffer to account for things like inflation. A little background on MM, okay? As we know, in 2022, we approved Proposition FF, which created a revenue stream to fund school meals for all students, regardless of need, by capping tax deductions for higher income taxpayers. The revenue collected during the 2023-2024 fiscal year surpassed the projection defined in the ballot measure that was approved. So, according to Tabor, Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the excess must be returned to taxpayers unless voters authorize the override via a new ballot measure. Also, the limitations on tax deductions defined in Prop FF must be adjusted to reduce future revenue to prevent excess collection unless voters approve an override of this Tabor provision as well. That's, I think, the same as what it was for LL. Okay, so what does it actually do? If you vote yes for Proposition MM, this increases the amount that households earning $300,000 or more annually are actually paying in state income tax. I'll remind you that is done by capping deductions. New tax revenue will provide funding for the Healthy School Meals for All program, which offers free breakfast and lunch to all students participating in public schools, and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which provides food assistance to low-income households. If I could go into that a little more, that has to do with the fund that is created. So when we say fully fund Healthy School Meals for All, obviously number one is that the meals are free. That actually is a feat in and of itself because food prices change throughout the year. Number two is local food purchasing. That is something, as was mentioned in LL, that actually hasn't been implemented yet because of funds. So that is connections between our schools, our public schools, and our local farmers and ranchers here in Colorado, for those schools to support farmers and ranchers directly by buying local food that can then be cooked to feed the kids. That is part of what MM would fund. Additionally, more resources for cafeterias and their staff, which might include some higher wages for cafeteria staff that are actually cooking from scratch, as opposed to doing something microwaved, and maybe supplies, for a kitchen if they're not set up to do fresher cooking. The piece about SNAP is only if all of those other elements of the program for the free and healthy school meals are fulfilled, then there's part of the extra fund that could go towards filling the gap in our statewide SNAP program, which has been left. I don't remember the figure, but it's actually much bigger than the revenue raised in this program is not going to fully fund SNAP, but this is for a piece of it to fill that gap if the program is fully funded. So I thought that's important to explain. Oh, did I say this?
What the vote
think
yes means?
Oh,
I think
right.
you just explained it.
I explained it.
All right. A vote no. State income tax for households earning $300,000 or more annually will not change, and states will not be required to reimburse local school food authorities in school districts with the highest concentrations of poverty. What you need to know: student participation and infiltration were higher than expected. Inflation.
Like food inflation. Sorry.
Okay. Were higher than expected, so the total cost of HSMAP, school meals and administration, has exceeded tax revenue collected to date, so additional monies are needed to continue the total program. MM raises up to an additional $95 million in tax year 2026 and similar amounts in future years by increasing income taxes on households earning $300,000 or more annually. MM requires school meal reimbursements, school meal worker wages, and local food purchasing grants be fully funded before the additional tax revenue will be used for SNAP, which is what you just said. Okay, so you can find these resources or learn more about it in the following resources: Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the TABOR, the Colorado Department of Education, Healthy School Meals for All, Healthy School Meals for All 2024 Legislative Report, the Healthy School Meals for All FAQ July 25, and Hunger Free Colorado. Okay. So now, because we kind of did that. All
I
right.
think we should mention this. There's one thing to note is, what if LL passes and MM does not, for example? If only LL passes, this funds the HSMA program actually for the remainder of this school year, and then the funds will remain, as they say, stable. So that means the same amount of funds will be collected, which is actually, at the end of the day, not enough funds. So this means some schools will lose the program in the following school year. If only MM passes, let's see. Does it say that? It says, I believe it will.
Same vote.
I believe it will be fully funded if only MM passes, but I am actually not sure about the spring 2026 semester for funding. Because if neither of them pass, some schools start to lose this program starting in January.
Right.
Yeah,
If both LL and MM fail, $12.4 million is refunded. No new revenue is raised, and Healthy School Meals for All program will be limited to only students in under-resourced areas. And then, of course, if both pass, the state keeps $12.4 million and raises $95 million more each year fully funding healthy school meals for all and may provide additional funding for SNAP. Okay. At this time, do we have questions? We know we have one, which I think we just,
Do you want to come up and ask?
if you like, you can come to
Yeah,
the
you can come to the mic.
the mic and just ask.
Yeah.
If LL and MM fail, does that benefit?
Okay.
What does this word say? Passage of both.
Yeah,
What does this benefit?
to children,
Oh.
which I think we just.
Yeah. Sorry,
Cover
you're
that.
hurting it. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'm Tom Thompson. Rumor has it that this is a result of federal funding being cut. In reading it, it doesn't seem like the federal government has much to do with the program. Is that true or false?
I'd say true mostly. This is a statewide program. I know because this is a statewide measure. We didn't say statewide quite enough. I think there are lots of fears circulating about federal programs being cut. The federal program that has been cut, obviously, is SNAP. And so it was over the summer during special session that that was raised to attention of the steering committee, which I've been on for this group. That was like, oh, this is excellent. You're trying to bring in money, for this program. But here we have a lot of families struggling. Same families that need this program are struggling without SNAP. Is there any way, if there's any excess revenue, can we help with that? So that is the main connection to federal, I will say. As well as if you are concerned about the future of our federal funding for school meals in general, I would say it's also a good idea to support this statewide program so that we have that guaranteed in our state, if that makes sense. Did you have anything to say?
Yeah. We know in 2024 there was a ballot measure to reduce so that schools did not have to, or districts did not have to offer free and reduced meals. And the district could opt out, right? So carrying that forward along with all of these other new things that we are faced with, yes, we know that kids process better when they're not hungry, right? So we have children sometimes that is the most nutritious meal they'll get or the only meal they'll get, right? So if they're going to school hungry, right, because benefits have been cut, groceries are so high, and now they can't even get that meal at school, I definitely think that's one of the reasons to vote yes. But, again, we all have our free will. Any other questions? Oh, did you have another?
Oh, we've got another. Yeah. One thing I thought I should mention, based on the numbers, I know a lot of numbers were read, and it seems like the lowering of the cap seems really like a high number. So you could read that and think, oh my gosh, are people going to pay $10,000 more in tax because of this? And the answer is no, or highly unlikely. If you do have your blue book, you can see the chart that they have in there. Actually, the average change estimated for those higher earners is, I think, a little less than $400, and that's coming from their that cap on the state income tax deduction. So I wanted to point that out because I know that seemed like a very high number, and it's not true to the average change. Yeah.
Okay. So this question, are charter schools treated the same as traditional public schools?
That is a great question. Yes. Okay. Charter schools are eligible for this program. So any public or charter schools are part of the public schooling system. So basically any school that's eligible in the state of Colorado includes public and charter schools, and almost all of them have opted into the program. So public and charter schools across our state are using this. And yeah, I know it's important to remember charter schools might be a little better funded in other aspects, but in terms of the families that are sending their kids to schools, I think the importance of this program is that we don't know what's going on at home for these families. And at any given school, even here in District 12, at like well-funded schools, there are plenty of families that are tight on funds and are struggling to feed their kids. Like the average money saved for a family with this program is $1,300 per year per child. And I know in every single school in the state, there are families that is making a difference for.
We're in District 11.
Oh, you're in District 11 here? Oh, okay.
We're
On the border, okay. So, yeah.
Okay, so the first question that came in, if both LL and MM fail, does that benefit taxpayers earning $300,000 or more rather than the children?
I would say yes. I would say that's accurate. Yeah, I like to say, well, because I table at a lot of events, and I talk to a lot of people about this, and our taxpayer Bill of Rights is very confusing, I think, especially to people who, aren't well versed in that wonky policy. And it's, at the end of the day, with Proposition LL, the decision is, do we keep money intended for schools to actually feed children, or do we return that money in increments of, a couple $100s to the highest earners in our state? And for me, that's a no-brainer that we should keep that money, because that's an important program. And, these kids are our neighbors. Yeah.
And who determines which schools lose money for the program?
That is a great question. I think that would be based on schools' eligibility for federal programs. So this is kind of the federal tie. So schools that are eligible for free and reduced lunch, like there's different tiers on a federal level. And so the highest need schools would get to keep the program, and the lowest need schools would start to lose it. And by lose it, it means that then families, if they want free or reduced lunch, they'd have to start applying for it again, which, like I said, if both of them fail, that would actually be detrimental to a lot of families who might not be aware of that, because this would start in January. So families might be sending their kids literally to school in January saying, go eat the free lunch, not realizing that their school perhaps has lost that program.
Any other questions or comments? You can, if you haven't written it down, you can come to the mic and ask.
Or holler, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't know about Tabor.
Right.
Okay.
Want to explain
A
about
little-
Tabor?
I could do my best.
Go ahead.
Okay. Tabor stands
Julie?
for the Taxpayer Bill of
Bill
Rights.
of Rights.
Do I know what year it was passed in? I do not, but that would be something good to know. It has not been here forever, is something I will say. Tabor, I will say effectively, has given Colorado one of the lowest effective tax rates. This means that, especially compared to our actual tax rate, which I want to say is near 4%, our effective tax rate is closer to 1%. What's important about Tabor is that it's, if you've ever gotten a Tabor check, those are refunds, right? Okay, it's nice when you get a check in the mail. What's behind the check? I would say behind the check is actually loss of funds of a lot of important programs across our state. So Tabor is saying, you pass a proposition or a bill or whatever, you say, we're gonna raise, we're gonna raise $95 million for school meals. And then say that the mechanism, the tax mechanism, brings in actually more money than that. I believe if it brings in more than like 130% of that revenue, then any excess has to be returned to the taxpayers.
Correct.
So that is divvied up, not returned equally to the taxpayers, I'll say. So it's not like everyone in the state is getting a check. Only the taxpayers who funded that program are going to get the check. So people's Tabor checks are different for that reason. But like I said, here's a perfect example of how Tabor kind of clogs up our political system in Colorado, because there are programs, like costs are constantly rising, and there are programs that actually could use those funds. And every year, especially, their statewide Department of Education is scrambling around trying to decide which programs can we keep and which programs do we have to cut because we have to refund money to people. Another important piece of voting for LL and MM is the fact that this program currently under its passage in 2022, it said that if there's not enough money to cover the program, the excess has to come from the state education budget. And that is really tough because that budget is covering other things, you know, like.
It just got cut as well.
Yeah, that got cut as well. And so this program now, pieces of it are having to compete with, like, you know, arts programs and special needs education. And that is not something that we want to have to do. Like, we think feeding the kids is important, but we don't want to have to compete with other also vital educational programs. And so if you are worried about the state of our state-wide budget, it's important to pass these because they are partially solving some of that competition. Does that make sense? Got a little bit too into it, but that's the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. There's probably much more detailed information about it online. And
So,
its history. Yeah.
So yes, about Tabor. So what we know is no taxation without representation, right? So when we pay in to our taxes, and it has to go back to the voters every time if we're asking to keep money as opposed to send it back to our voters. So I think that's a very important piece to say, which is why it's like, oh, why are we always going to Tabor? Why are we always bringing up Tabor? Because if we're requesting something new and we're requesting money, as opposed to just taxing people and they don't know where their money's going, right? We're saying, hey, we have this in Tabor right now. Are you amenable to us keeping this revenue so that we don't have to increase your taxes in another area? So, you know, that's kind of how my brain kind of wraps around it. And going back to what you said about the Department of Ed, yes, we know that their budget has been cut, and that is definitely one of my sore spots, because I always say, like, the first thing to go in any school district or any school is the fine arts program, and that's very important too. All of the programs that we put in school places are very important. You know, a pet peeve of mine, we will fund the football team, but we won't fund the fine arts. So I'll get off my soapbox there because we're talking about school meals for children. But yes, thank you for asking. Any other questions? Yes. Do all children, including the affluent, get free and lunch? Very good question. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do all children, including the affluent, get free breakfast and or including lunch? Yeah.
Right, so the program is for free breakfast and lunch that are universally available. Of course, like, not all people have to use it. In my experience talking to families for the last, I think, 2 years I've been on this coalition, I have realized actually the most affluent families often choose to send their kids with food from home, like their own food, you know, Costco or whatever. So I should mention that it's not like every single kid in school is using these, but this program is available to kids of any income background. And I think when we look at the numbers, it is important to remember, right, let's think the highest earners, 300,000 or more. The average change in their tax because of this might be, I said, a little less than 400, right, $400. And by using this program, if, for example, someone made that income and they're sending their kids to school and they want to take advantage of the free school meals program, that is their right. It's a universal program. And actually, any family in the state could save over $1,000 by using this program. And so I just think that is actually pretty cool that even for the highest earners, I think it is a great program. And part of, you know, I think a lot of people, this universal free school meals is a bit of a new concept. A big reason behind it, I would say there's two things. There's a lot of middle income families that are actually falling through the cracks. Perhaps they didn't make like little enough to apply for the program, or maybe they didn't have the information to apply. You know, applying for federal aid programs can be a bit, it can be a lot of paperwork, can be a little confusing. if they either don't know about it or don't know how to apply it or don't have the confidence to apply, or even say, you know, I'm ashamed, like I don't want my kid to have free lunch. There are lots of families who were not feeding their kids enough, and because of various reasons, we're not taking advantage of a federal program. And so that is part of the benefit of having universal free school meals. And as an experience of a kid in school, it's also important to get rid of that, you know, free food line experience that some kids are identified as being lower income, and kids from a very young age are having to think about the income of their household. And so this is really building a better school environment for everyone by getting rid of that stigma and getting rid of that competition that kids have to experience in the school.
Good, yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking about what you were saying. Yes? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said enough.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about school board.
Any other questions?
Awesome.
Are we gonna talk about the school board?
School board, no, I guess, unless Julie wants to say something about
Yeah, that would be I'm in D2.
Julie is on the school board for D11.
I'm on the other executive.
Hi, everyone. I am a member of the League of Women Voters. I also serve on the District 11 School Board. I'm Julie Ott. I am term limited this time, so you all will hopefully be voting for someone to replace me and the other two folks who are coming, the other two who are coming off. We do have a District 11 School Board forum scheduled for October, I want to say 28. And that will be run by students, and we are hosting that out of the Citadel Mall. It will be live streamed, thanks to Dave over here. Again, recognize Dave. And so we have a YouTube channel, and I can get that information to you, Molly. I know y'all might not do YouTube streaming, but then feel free to chat with Molly as far as the details and where. Yes, I can share the link with you if you want to email it to people. We put it if you want to come to our Facebook page. I know all of this is the tech side, but that's if you want to as well. If you want the link directly emailed to you, so all you have to do is push the button at the right time. Please put your name on the information page back there where you can sign. We'll need a clearly written email address, and I will be happy to send those details to you with that link. And then you should just have to press the button and turn up the volume to watch. And we will have the ability for folks to ask questions virtually as well. So all of the candidates but one, I believe, have agreed, because you have 7 candidates on that part of your ballot. The catch also will be, though, that is late enough that we recommend that you not put your ballot in the mail afterwards. So you'll want to arrange for somebody to pick up your ballot. And
They have a Dropbox.
you have a drop box right here. Oh, that is so perfect. Okay, you have a drop box. Great.
Yeah, they have Miss Molly.
I hope that addressed that question.
As a sitting school board member, I'd like your opinion on what I'm hearing about taking over school boards. And I know many of us got a very ugly mailing about one candidate. And what is happening at school boards? Is there a movement to infiltrate school boards?
So the question is there a movement to infiltrate school boards? That one's a really hard one for me to answer as a league member representing here today, but we can have a short conversation afterwards. I will say that a lot of what we call dark money has been used in school board races, and you can see that by just looking at the Secretary of State side of things. That's not the dark side, though. It really comes from the whole Citizens United side of things, where people can spend unlimited amounts of soft money. Dark money is, it's not clear and transparent. Sorry, same
Where
words.
it's coming from.
It's not transparent where the money is coming from, right? When we reference shining the light on government, shining the light on money, where it comes from for campaigns. So dark money is the opposite. You don't know where it comes from. It's considered the soft spending side, and anybody can take out an ad and just not let us know who is spending that money for or against candidates. So, yeah.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're the person who could answer these questions. What is the dark money hoping to accomplish? They must have an agenda of some sort. I mean, I know the people I know, like you, who serve on the school board, serve the citizens having good education for the kids. They have a different perspective. What is that? I mean, I'm so out of it, I don't know.
I wouldn't want to try and speak for anyone and on their opinions for where they're putting their money on school board. But I will say, absolutely pay attention, do the homework, find like-minded. If you aren't sure, even because it's so much information, and every one of us who runs for school board is going to say, we want what's best for kids. But how we get to that point and what we think is best for kids could be very different.
Right.
So I would say go ahead and watch the forum, check who's responding on ballotpedia.org as a voter candidate questionnaire. Also, Vote 411 is the league's questionnaire. Unfortunately, not all the candidates have replied, and we're still constantly chasing those candidates to say, please reply. We are nonpartisan. As League of Women Voters, we are asking everybody the same questions, and they have total control over their answers. So I'd encourage you to check out those sources. Ballotpedia, again, is the other one, and they're the same. They are nonpartisan. So Ballotpedia, kind of like encyclopedia. Oh, Molly's holding up the page. Yep, we have an information sheet in the back, and those sources are on the bottom. Ballotpedia.org and vote411.org. Okay, I'm going to turn this back over to Ms.
Could I
Angie.
chime in on that for a second? I just thought I should also point out that endorsements are an easy thing to look at if you want to check for endorsements. So the Colorado Educational Association is the statewide teachers union group. So they endorse candidates as well as ballot measures. They have endorsed LL and MM. They have also endorsed school board candidates in most school districts in our city. So that is another thing that you could look for. Colorado Educational Association, CEA. So they do endorsements. So that is like, you know, someone who votes, obviously, that is.
Where do you find them?
I would just, I mean, there are some websites that track like who endorsed who. So you could even, you know, get someone to look up. Yeah, Ballotpedia probably would say who has endorsed, like when a candidate, it has like kind of their profile and it'll say endorsed by CEA, for example. Another group that endorses, I mean, I don't know more than these two groups, is the Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty is a conservative group, a highly conservative group that also does endorsements for school boards. So obviously they're unaffiliated. They don't have party affiliations, but they do have endorsements. So just thought I should point that out.
Okay. So yes, a lot of you have already picked this handy dandy little pamphlet up. They are in the back. Okay. Again, it shows you what we were reading. What if it fails? What if it passes? Okay. And then we also have our quick cheat sheet. And this is where the league stands on these propositions. And you can find these in the back. If you need one, Julie's passing out right now. Any other questions before we wrap up? We will get you, if you put your email down, we will send you a link to the candidate form on the 28th. Again, it will be at the Citadel, and it is at 6 p.m. So I know now, with it getting darker sooner, a lot of people don't drive around. I try not to drive around You see, for me to see all of you out there, I got to put on my glasses, but to see this right here, I have to take them off because I can't view. Any other questions? Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for coming today. Thanks. Cool. Thanks so much. Thanks for letting
I want to thank again our
Absolutely.
panelists, Angie and Izzy, for coming over here today, and all of you for coming down, and I hope you learned a little. It helps. And we have a lot of things to give out, so help yourself to the back table. Thank you for coming.
You can. You might want to put them back there with the stuff.